Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at Alaham by Fulke Greville. We're going from Act 3 onwards, and we're going to complete the text in short order today as we find out, how cheerful and happy this play is going to end. It would be fair to say that we struggled with the first two acts. There were some exposition issues, like the exposition frequently didn't explain what was going on, and that was quite frustrating. But now that we're sort of in the flow, hopefully now, as we get to the crisis of the story, things will flow a little bit better. So, reading today, Alaham, and a priest is
Rachael, actor on the East Coast.
Reading Caine, Basshas, Nutrix, Celica, chorus of people is
Lynsey Beauchamp, actor on the East Coast of Scotland.
And reading Hala, the good spirits, and Zophi is
Tom from the South Coast of England.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading the ill-favoured spirits, the old king, and Nuntius. And I'll also read the occasional. I'll vaguely tell you when there's a new scene has occurred. And I'm from the east coast of East Anglia, in the east of England. So lots of easts I could squeeze. I could probably have squeezed a few more in, but time pressures. So anyway, we're going to go into Act 3. Plots are going on. There's a power vacuum. The old king has generally he's just swinging the lead. Alaham is making moves. Other people are making moves to try and take power. Stuff's going to happen, and with that stuff, we go into Act 3, Scene 1. Alaham alone.
I march above the wits and hearts of men, chance at my feet and power in my hand. Now king indeed, obedience doth become men, that can strength by wisdom overcome. It honor was, even worthy more than crowns, to pass the Basshas in adventuring. They were possessed, I dispossessed of all, but liberty to live or die a thrall. Truth was in vain, no piecing up with might. For me I saw I had too good a cause. Counsel is slow, each minute infinite. When resolution to her ripeness draws, I saw corruption was the way to rise, and with that shot I pierced their tyrannies. Their guard I did corrupt, base servile spirits, I knew, lacked wit to see, or hear to bear temptations, for desire is infinite in them, that wanting honor cannot fear. Trial is made, the king I do possess, my right is more, why should my hope be less? And am I king, and do my foes still live? Can wounded greatness slumber in a throne? Or that be glory which I feel alone? No, let rigor speak, which all men hear. Life is the work of nature, death of kings, ruin it is, that reputation brings. My guard is strong, their first employment is the murder of those men my father trusts. Not all, for that were cruelty, not wit. Some simple being, some indifferent spirits, their ends and honors being but delights. Others ambitious, rash and violent, no inward strength of nature or of grace. Of present power the noble instruments transform and use. Wit virtue doth exceed, for it is all or none, as men have need. Only my care is how the plot should prove, which for the Basshas now in ambush lies. My wife hath art and rage, which jointly move her headstrong spirits unto cruelties. But if her craft serve not to pluck them down, the sword wants not pretenses for the crown. My friends and mates, you, upon whom I lay my life and honor, with this state and trust be resolute, for scruple doth betray. Since all great works have great examples must, then Asim, Zaraphus, and Veladon Blood asketh blood. With ravine they did spoil the people first, and now betray the crown. Revenge your parents, countrymen, and kin. Blood here is just, true honor and no sin. The cankered Calchas, scourge of tyrannies, great master of deceit, artisan of spoil, the spy of fault, and spying of subsidies. Naked delivered him into the sea. To plague those faults it cannot wash away. The rest to bonds, who though they want no spite, their frailty yet for innocence shall stand. All else exile, obey in everything. They happy are that serve a rising king.
Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Caine Basshas.
Placed in a throne, guarded, adored, and crowned, what means this change, these signs of majesty? Goodness gets not so soon a great estate, mischief's foul way to sovereignty. This secret haste is sure, all is inbound. What shall I do? Hold on the course I meant? Why not? The death of Mahomet still will content. Thy will is done, and Mahomet is slain.
My mind misgave itself, my thoughts did fear. Yet knew I they of nothing guilty were. By fate or malice is the Basshas slain.
By fate, I think, for justice fatal is, as God's bequest to them that do amiss.
By sudden death, by thunder, lightning, fire, or by what other anger of the sky? I prithee show how Mahomet did die.
By these hands that owe service to the state, and by his blood have made it fortunate.
What execration did he dying use against this violence of broken faith, which wounds good souls more than the body's death?
In falling down, these only words he spake: Help, people, help, my death your bondage brings. Behold, these wounds receive I for your sake, reward of them that friend you under kings. Vile Caine, that like the axe dost go about to cut thyself, and helve to wear thee out.
Most wicked act. Could neither faith nor law, reverence of state, remorse of doing ill, the pains of justice, nor the hopes withdraw thy raging hand. And dost thou think the world can suffer this, that thou shouldst glory to have done amiss?
Is thy desire grown wanton in her joy? Or dost thou seem to say thy wishes nay, more kindly in the end with them to play?
By fires of hell, which burn and have no light, by those foul spirits which ill men only see, I swear thy death shall Mahomet's requite.
Unto the world, although I guilty be, I did thy will. Let me be clear to thee.
In vain I should command his death by slights, that placed am upon the Father's seat, where power can easier do things than entreat.
The state of kings is large, yet lacks in this, that easy each thing, but not lawful is. Besides, you then a second brother were, nor knew I when this plot we did devise, you should see clearer by your father's eyes.
Rumor, complaints, and scornful thoughts of power are ways of private hearts that from below misjudge those higher powers they do not know. But now born up into a prince's throne, beneath I see that world of discontent, where error teacheth use of punishment. Away with him. Entreaty is in vain, thy death to him is due, whom thou hast slain.
Ah, fearful friendships with superior powers, whose two parts, they themselves and their estates, divide or join like nets, and be the snare, where love and fear to power entrapped are. Alaham, I avow thy deed. To constant wickedness men honour bear, where truth itself hath injury by fear.
I say, let him be slain. His fault is this, that Mahomet most traitorously be slow.
Stay, sir. I say that he still living is, and my confession of myself untrue.
Traitor unto thyself, and false to me. What riddles of contempt and wickedness are these, of which thyself confessed be? If Mahomet be dead, then shalt thou die, for murder of thy friend deserves no less. If Mahomet do live, ye shalt thou die. For if no murder, scorn thou dost confess. Away with him.
And exit Caine, Basshas as we go into Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Hala, Alaham's wife.
What tumult's this, my lord?
Yes, she didn't enter making a massively long speech. It's confusing, isn't it?
No, I thought I unmuted. The play of chance, which without mischief nothing can advance.
Yet, good sir, tell me what this tumult is.
The fall of him whose heart hath done amiss.
His name and crime, sweet lord, I long to know.
Report of mischief doth infect the heart, and wisdom bids that should in silence see, for nature feeleth every body's smart.
Women belike are still in infancy, that must not fear or provocation see. The glass of horror is not fact but fear. Opinion is a tyrant everywhere.
If I shall tell you what you long to know, what boots it? If you think it is not so.
What leads your reason leads my reason too, that all your words conceive in kindness do.
The man that was, and is not now, is he, that never was the man he seemed to be. Caine, what need more to show? With him are dead his fault, and our good wills to him misled.
What here now? False and weak estate of good belief, wherein shall peace be found? Since gods be not, and mankind made to hate. Cain dead, even Cain, whom now we loved best, in infants both grown wicked and oppressed. Cain slain by you. Hath Cain deserved this? O God, like strange his crime and killing is, perchance not dead, my lord. How was he slain?
By sword.
Wounds let forth spirits, yet live again.
Nay, dead he is. These eyes did see his breath bear all his spirit into the world of death.
Necessity, that from infernal night fatally linked arts unto the skies. Bear thee we cannot, yet we bear thee must. Now hopes appear, even now my heart resolves revenge, and silence is the way to it. Did he confess his fault? What spake he last?
Ha, Mahomet, whose hopes were on me placed.
Hasty belief, my lord, has hasty deeds, and with their wounds of oft truth and wisdom bleeds.
When wickedness is ripe, a minute shows what chance the dice of innocency throws.
Pardon me, lord. Good thoughts to live above, in highest region of unfeigned love. Doubts and revenge nature hath placed below, meaning the space should make the passage slow.
God, meaning we should rule and you obey, gave men clear sight, and woman good affection. In us, not in yourselves, lies your election.
My lord, 'tis true our frail and weak estate doth labour in excess, a woman's heart still in the fever of love or hate. Hardly the love which I did bear to Caine could think he erred, much less approved him slain. But now his faults approved by heavenly doom, our loss is in him foretells our gain to come. Then, sir, take care his death be not in vain. Your silly sire is blind. If he were dead, this reeling estate by you might stand again. True joy is only hope put out of fear, and honour hideth error everywhere. A form the world expects in worldly thing Caine was a man, and Basshas and our friend, sculptor as a man, honour to his estate. Tears do become guilty friendship's end, excess of honour done to them that die. Makes living men see our humanity. Besides, thought feeding rumour forth will go, and occupy unquiet people's spirits. While in this pile for Caine you may bestow their blinded weakness, which withhold your right, people do power, not persons apprehend. Strength shows like truth, mankind loves policy. Defend kings, but not revenged be.
Envy will rise and both ways fall on us, either as having slain an innocent, or highly erred by burying treason thus. In penal justice silence best contents.
Rumour must needs be born of doing minds. Envy is but the smoke of low estate, ascending still against the fortunate.
I fear the carriage, it hath many parts, and hazard's courses may find overthwarts.
My shame is equally engaged with your intent ill carried are, that men may know, when things are done, let rumours freely go.
Great works do oft yield grievous accidents, which stir up people's rage beyond intents.
People are suspicious, caught with shows. To power, why do they else their freedom give? But that in others' pomp these shadows live.
Blessed yoke that under reason draws the pleasant load of well-united love. Thy counsel, as mine own, I do approve.
Then send the priest to me bequeatheth the rest, for superstition hides ill meaning best.
Act 3, Scene 4. Exit Alaham. Hala remains. Enter Nutrix.
And is he gone? Rage then imprisoned be. I like thee well, like Alaham was there. Thou then didst use thy violence on me. Now pray abroad, swell above all respect. Fear nothing, if notorious thou wilt reign, thy glorious shine. When everyone complain, what now? A child? And dost thou idly walk the beaconed paths of common cruelty? A judge, and no revenge then I am. If thou no more than his offences be, while Caine did live, thou thought more than this. Shall death, desire, hope, fame, and fortunes lost, such fading trophies have? Can thankfulness abound, and shall offence not feel? Revenge hath her magnificence. Rage now art above the orb of doubt, where danger dangerously appears to thee divine. I pray thee, what shall fall to me? Must I be slain?
Monstrous I know this woman's nature is. The worst she still, herself she now exceeds, that dares scarce trust herself with that she breeds.
Well, now I feel thee rise when I admire, when hills have clouds, let all the valleys fear. Scornest thou to make examples out of him? Hast thou found out his children? They are mine. Proud horror, dost thou choose the innocent, false conqueror of nature? Dost thou move a woman's spite to spoil a mother's love? Rage, shall we strive which shall give others place?
Hala, suppress. You need not kindle rage.
Well, on so that like ruin I may fall and ruin him. Take children, me and all.
Hala, distract. Have senses lost their use?
If there's a third, that trafficketh abuse.
I bring you piety, duty, reason, love, water, to quench these flames that passions move.
Throw on enough. No sea can quench this flame. And then what cannot quench doth but inflame.
For whom do you this sumptuous storm prepare?
For whom our wives' estates enjoin to care.
Is malice current where respect is due?
Power doth what likes in her, inferiors move. As we are seized, so pay we hate or love.
What fault in him moved these effects in you?
Thoughts are too strict, much less than words contain. The venom of this malice is too deep for any power but revenge to keep.
Then rage is lost, for there is naught in man that equal pain with such offences can.
Be that the gauge, man's senses barons were. If they could apprehend but what they feel, his do with place, ills do with place, like numbers multiply. The living, dead, malice, affection, fear, my womb and I do his affections bear.
Will you destroy your own?
My own are his.
Infamous act!
Rage doth but now begin.
Canst thou do worse?
Else to myself I sin. Life is too short. Horror exceeds not faith, that cannot plague offences after death.
Calm this storm, these torrents, shun of rage, which drown thyself and all besides.
Furies no more irregular run, but arted each confusion to divide.
If kind be disinherited in thee, yet have compassion of this orphan state.
That is the work which men shall wonder at. For while his ruined are, yet mine shall reign. His heirs, but yet true, issued unto Caine.
These works on princes' ruins must be built.
For my revenge no baser blood is spilt.
What forces can princes' forces overbear?
That force which makes their pride it cannot fear.
How enters malice where there is mistrust?
With tribute unto state, to kings with lust.
What way to these?
Prosperity, success.
These add more power.
So much suspects the less.
What can you add?
Presence, obedience, praise, they need not knock to enter in that place.
Flatteries are plain.
To kings that see their ill,
Kings jealous are.
of truth, not of their will.
Usurpers fear.
Worth, not humility. Kings' errors are our agents in their hearts. Their private passions wounds their public states. Time hath her arrangements and places her arts. This day he doth consummate all his joys. Glory now at the full is not suspicious. And what adds to his pomp shall him destroy? A crown, a mantle of most curious work. I have prepared men with Egyptian skill, and poisoned him in pleasing him I will.
My spirits fail.
Till Alhambra's ills do tremble, horror is faint, faint. Rage doth but rage resemble. Depart, keep secret, and be not dismayed. Unperfect works cannot their glory show. This godly world did from the chaos grow.
And exit Nutrix.
Now, Caine, I for whose revenge I only live, inspire the ghost to multiply in me, more sense to make my senses more enraged, more love to make love's losses more in thee. Double my wit beyond my strength engage. Open all lights of possibility. Let grief, which yet keeps company with death, break forth and poison all things with her breath.
Act 3, Scene 5. Hala remains. Enter Priest.
Madame, whom men obey, and God doth hear, what zeal, remorse, or charity doth move your heart? The king leaves all things to your love.
Caine, who of late did live to both us dear, 'tis true did fail, and for this fault is slain. Our hearts are eased as having lost their fear, and rights of human duties yet remain. A king's beloved he was, sometime our friend, which must appear in honour to his end. Such royal piles as for the princely race are made of sacrifice unto the sky. In honour of that God which gave them place, such sumptuous piles make, but more cost bestow. Because both are just revenge and love they show. Summon the Mufti and soothsayers all, the Persian magi, Christian star diviners, the first to sing alike his faith and fall, the last to tell how higher powers inclines. In short, revenge and love shine in those fires. Power of all pomp that magnifies desires, as if at once by cross morality the prince and princely line were dead in one. Let mourning and devotions to the sky be offered up in pomp and public moan. Magnificence is a princely mystery. All great estates by great expanses are known. Prepare excess, and let no cost be forgot. It makes men wonder, though they honour not. Music to fix the wandering spirit's race, and sweeten envy's thoughts in unity, that sorrow and devotion may have place, remorse and pity flow and multiply. Lights of all kinds, the lights of day shut out, for darkness is enamelled in the devout.
And exit Hala, leaving the priest.
Unhappy state of priesthood here below, who have to do with curious atheism, with sin in flesh, and in the church with schism. Our office is an holy mystery, to teach kings, God, and every subject, king. How one obedience doth another bring, but what boots truth to flesh or laws to might? Belief a wonder is, obedience woe. And shall we priests, that under princes live, strive in ourselves with vice, abroad with might? And like the hands which winnow rich men's gain, grow poor in all, but only woe and pain? No, no, the eyes of priests look ever low, to find the key of power that is above. When that is found, all faults beneath we know. But majesty hides faults as well as love. And though these rites of princely funeral, by laws divine, should not profaned be, with less than with descendants of majesty, yet Caine, more princely, by thy prince's grace shall be thy tomb than ever prince's was.
And exit the priest, and we have a chorus to close the third act, a dialogue of good and evil spirits.
What is your scope, vain ghosts? Would you o'erbuild the sky? Were not men's many tongues and minds their babble destiny? Your being's discords are, and what can they create? But disproportion, which is still the fairest mark of fate.
Are you afraid, poor souls? Else why do you descend to question or confer with us, to whom you are no friends, who fear their own estates, do commonly first speak, as they again put goodness on, who find their party weak? We do but what we did, which is increase our might, and as on earth, so in the air, cry down your borrowed light.
What can you win of us? That must be as we were. Whereas you, exiles out of heaven, can hope for nothing there.
We that were as you are know well what you can be, where you that never were like us, what can you in us see?
That you have first destroyed yourselves, and are ordained to scourge, curse, and corrupt the earth, which you boast to have gained.
Why did you not defend that which was once your own? Between us two, the odds of worth by odds of power is known. Besides, about your infinite extent, even in the infancy of time, when much was innocent, could this world then yield aught to envy or desire, where pride of courage made men fall, and baseness raised them higher? Where they would be great, to be so must be least, and where to bear and suffer wrong was virtue's native crest. Man's skin was then his silk, the world's wild fruit his food, his wisdom poor simplicity, his trophies inward good. No majesty for power, nor glories for man's worth, nor any end but as the plants to bring each other forth, temples and vessels fit for outward sacrifice. As they came in, so they go out, with that which you count vice. The priesthood few and poor, no throne but open air, for that which you call good allows of nothing that is fair. No pyramids raised up above the force of thunder, nor Babel walls by greatness built, for littleness a wonder. No conquest testifying wit, with dauntless courage mixed, as wheels whereon the world must run and never can be fixed. No arts, or characters to read the great God in, nor stories of acts done, for these all entered with the sin. A lazy calm, wherein each fool a pilot is, the glory of the skilful shines, where men may go amiss. Till we came in, there was no trial of your might, and since we were in men, yourselves presume a little right. Then cease to blast the earth with your abstracted dreams, and strive no more to carry men against infection's streams. Nay, rather tempt and prove, if long life make them wise, that must, to have their beauty seen, put out all fleshly eyes, or when they be no more, eternal then to be. Neglect the joy and glorious use of time's felicity. Cast out these thin-weaved lines, and catch some little flies. The greater spirits which are ours feel not these nimble ties. In Alaham, for instance, plead your power or right. Entice him from a mortal crown with your crown infinite. Prove if he will forbear unnatural parricide, to see who in the sea of humours shall the sceptre guide. Try, if proved Hala will forget the death of Caine, and reconciled in duty where their own lord live and reign, move Celica, that spirit reputed for your own, to see if she to save her life would have her fame unknown. Work Zophi, that poor soul, though blind to leave its breath. We only make things cheap or dear, as lords of life and death. Lastly, persuade the king to live, and save his crown, and all the world shall we see raise, and we pull princes down, so that your beings here are but a tincture cast, like crests upon the Egypt Pharos, to disguise, not last. Beside, take from the world that which you reckon sin, and she must be, as at the first, for ever to begin, a glorious, spacious womb, framed to contain but one, since he that in it will be yours is sure to be alone. Keep, therefore, where you are. Descend not, but ascend, for underneath the sun, be sure no brave state is your friend.
What have you won by this? But the crust under sin. You make and mar, throw down and raise as never to begin. Like meteors in the air you blaze, but to burn out, and change your shapes like phantom clouds to leave weak eyes in doubt. Not truth, but truth-like grounds is that you work upon, varying in all but this, that you can never long be one. Then play here where your art, false miracle devise, deceive, and be deceived still, be foolish and scheme wise. In peace erect your thrones, your delicacies spread, the flowers of time corrupt, soothe spring, and as he's quickly dead, let war, which, tempest-like, all with itself o'erthrows, make of this device wood a stage for blood-enamelled shows. Successfully both these yet this fate follow will, and all their glories be no more than change from ill to ill. So as with peace or war, if you adorn one realm, in both through other climes again you run with barren stream. Rest nowhere therefore, be still, wander as you do, and restless be they, as you are, that shall receive you too. Give Alaham more scope to multiply his error, with parents' blood adorn his throne, and more guilt shall still adds more terror. Let Hala, wicked heart, for all ill births of womb, by violence of passion, make for many vices room. Let ill example in to stain the Christian nation, the same excesses destroy at last, which first give reputation. Conspire against the truth, you have an easy foe, for in the world all that are, he can never current go. Under the next good shadow your deformed excess, yet shall your massed arts and horns your cloven foot express, whereby your beauties be so prized among your own, as they will blush for yours by name or nature to be known. Again, take all the world, if it one soul content, then freely let mankind believe that you are omnipotent. But if your legions here do in their glories rave, tormented while they live on earth, and much more in the grave. If to be nothing, to be the best that could befall, your your stubble orbs to real beings then must needs be thralled, and so prone to the good, but like these showers of rain, which while wet the husbandman, yet multiply his gain.
And the good and the bad exit. Okay, Act 3, I have been feeling a lot more positive about, because we've got a sense of a scene. I think this is the first time in the play where you've really got the impression that there are other people in the room apart from the speakers. So Alaham is sort of making this big gesture, politics in front of people, my friends and mates, my followers, and Caine steps forward and says he's done a murder, and the murder we talked to, that sort of sorted out earlier. And Alaham says, well, no, you have to die. He says, well, okay, I didn't actually murder him. Actually, he's in a cupboard back in my house. And I'll say, well, I'll kill you for lying then. I mean, I'll kill you for this, I'll kill you for that. It's all one to me. Of course, what Alaham hasn't thought about is that his wife is Caine's lover, and which he knows full well is true. And she goes full Medea on us, and by a coincidence, entirely unplanned coincidence, we read Medea in translation 2 days ago. So this just leaps straight out of us. We've got a Medea figure talking about killing one of her children, the one by Alaham, so that the child she's had by Caine can become the future ruler further down the line, and she's also going to get a poison cloak garment of some description. So yeah, it's and she's saying this to Nutrix, to a nurse, which is exactly what's the kind of stuff that happened in Medea. So yeah, I get the impression that Fulke Greville might have done some late night reading of this element of the show, because it's suddenly, and that might be also a reason why this bit worked so much better than what we were reading last session, because it's got a good flow to it. There's stakes, we know what's going on, and I really enjoyed the argument of the evil, just going, hey, look, being good's boring. It's the speech from the third man about the cuckoo clock, and living in a peaceful democracy. You don't innovate or do anything interesting. Look what bad people do. Bad people built pyramids with whips and terribleness. Isn't that great? Which is a flawed argument, because you don't have to be evil to do cool things, but it's really quite well put forward. I quite enjoyed it. Thoughts in the room? Who wants to leap in on Act 3? I've just gone off on one. Lynsey, you weren't here last time, so how was this flow for you?
Well, I think yes, I was just really going to agree with what you were saying, that in the scene between the good spirit and the evil spirit, it just suddenly seemed like we had some proper kind of cut and thrust and back and forth, and some actual dynamism and stakes and that kind of thing. So it was I enjoyed that. And I think, really all I'd observed so far about the text, I put this in the chat, but just that it seems that there is more interplay between people having asides, or maybe having soliloquies, and then also speaking to the other person on stage, who is the scene partner, as it were. And the whole kind of public-private thing, because if there are other people on stage but they're not speaking, how does that, and certainly for an audio drama, how does that affect how we play those kinds of things? So, I think it's quite interesting. It is a little dry, I would say, little dry, but, not entirely terrible, I would say.
No, I mean let's put it this way: it is less dry than it was yesterday. I mean, it has
Okay.
steadily improved.
Okay.
There were some good scenes towards the end of the last session that I quite liked. Problematic, but decent scenes, and this
Mm.
seems to be because, as I say, we've got a scene with someone basically being their execution being organised on stage, and it's sort of and that turns quite quickly, and it's sort of something happens quite, But you're right. There isn't that much sense of a cut and thrust to the debate that's going on because it's still quite opaque.
Mm.
We sort of know what they're doing, but we don't know what they're saying in that
Mm.
way. Rachel.
Some parts of the dialogue, like when it was Hala and Alaham, were it seemed like the guy had written a monologue, but then he cut like two separate monologues, but then cut them up and interspersed them at one point. Because like it's that opaqueness that it's like people are answering each other, but it seems like at the same time they're not answering the other person's question. They're going off on something else, which is near what they asked, but isn't exactly what they were asking.
Yeah, that they're almost they're on separate train tracks and they're not actually, interacting with each other in a direct way. They're sort of parallel lines, but they're not. There's Tom.
But this is not for the stage, is it?
Well, I mean, it's
the closet type of.
Yes, it was written around 1600-ish, as far as anyone can guess, by some stylistic and clues, and then it gets published after the author's death, about 30 years later. As far as we know, it was not designed for actual performance, but it might have been. You can never be 100% certain that it wasn't performed in some fashion, but it is much more literary than it is dramatic in that sense. But hey, if you write it in dialogue, we're going to have a damn good try. Yeah. Other thoughts or questions before we go into Act 4? No. Okay. Enter the king. And, it's me. It's quite novel for me to do reading, It doesn't always happen. Anyway, so yes, there's been a power vacuum throughout the whole play, and this guy is why it's there. So it's the king and his daughter enter Act 4, Scene 1, King and Celica. Celica, thou only child whom I repent, not yet have I begot, thy work is vain. Thou run'st against my destiny's intent. Fear not my fall. The steep is fairest plain, and error safest guide unto his end, who nothing but mischance can have to friend. We parents are but nature's nursery, when our succession springs, then ripe to fall. Privation unto age is natural. Age there is also in prince's state, which is contempt grown of misgovernment, where love of change begetteth prince's hate. For hopes must wither or grow violent, if fortune bind desires to one estate. Then mark, blind as a man, scorned as a king, a father's kindness loathed and desolate, life without joy or light, what can it bring but inward horror unto outward hate? Safety, thou art then a hateful thing, when children's death assures the father's state. No, safe I am not. Though my son were slain, my frailty would beget such sons again. Besides, if fatal be the heaven's will, repining adds more force to destiny, whose iron wheels stale not on fleshly wit, but headlong run down steep necessity. And as in danger we do catch at it, that comes to help, and unadvisedly oft do our friends to our misfortune knit. So with the harm of those who would us good, is destiny impossibly withstood. Celica, thou cease, importune me no more. My son, my age, the state where things are now require my death. Who would consent to live where love cannot revenge, nor truth forgive?
Though fear see nothing but extremity, yet danger is no deep sea, but a ford, where they that yield can only drowned be, in wrongs and wounds. Sir, you are too remiss. To thrones a passive nature fatal is.
Occasion to my son have turned her face. My inward wants in all my outward strengths betray, and so make that impossible I may.
Yet live for the state.
Whose ruins glasses are, wherein see errors of myself I must, and hold my life of danger, shame, and care.
When fear propounds, with loss men ever choose.
Nothing is left me but myself to lose.
And is it nothing, then, to lose the state?
Where chance is ripe, there counsel comes too late. Celica, by all thou owest the gods and me, I do conjure thee, leave me to my chance. What's past was error's way, the truth it is, wherein I wretch can only go amiss. If nature saw no cause of sudden ends, she that but one way made to draw our breath, would not have left so many doors to death.
Yet, sir, if weakness be not such a sand as neither wrong or counsel can manure, choose and resolve what death you will endure.
This sword my hands may offer up my breath, and plague my life's remissness in my death.
Unto that duty, if these hands be borne, I must think God and truth but names of scorn. Again, this justice were, if life were loved, now merely grace, since death doth but forgive a life to you, which is a death to live. Pain must displease that satisfies offence.
Chance hath left death no more to spoil but sense.
Then, sword, do justice office through me, offer more than that he hates to thee.
Ah, stay thy hand. My state no equal hath, and much more matchless my strange vices be. One kind of death becomes not thee and me. Kings' plagues by chance or destiny should fall. Headlong he perish that ruins all.
No cliff or rock is so precipitate, but down it eyes can lead the blind away. Without me live, or with me die you may.
Celica, and wilt thou Alaham exceed? His cruelty is death, you torments use. He takes my crown, you take myself from me. A prince of this fallen empire let me be.
Then be a king, no tyrant of thyself. Be, and be what you will. What nature lent is still in hers, and not our government.
If disobedience and obedience both still do me hurt, in what strange state am I? But hold thy course. It well becomes my blood to do their parents mischief with their good.
Yet, sir, hark to the poor oppressed tears, the just men's moan that suffer by your fall. A prince's charge is to protect them all. And shall it nothing be that I am yours? The world without, my heart within doth know. I never had unkind, unreverent powers. If thus you yield to Alaham's treachery, he ruins you. 'Tis you, sir, ruin me.
Celica, call up the dead, awake the blind, turn back the time, bid winds tell whence they come, as vainly strength speak to a broken mind. Fly from me, Celica. Hate all I do. Misfortunes have in blood successions too.
Will you do that which Alaham cannot? He hath no good. You have no ill, but he. This mar rights, yieldings, honours tyranny.
I not done amiss? Am I not ill that ruined have a king's authority, and not one king alone, since princes all feel part of those scorns whereby wonder fall? Treason against me cannot treason be. All laws have lost authority in me.
The laws of power chained to men's humours be. The good have conscience, the ill, like instruments, are in the hands of wise authority moved, divided, used, or laid down, still with desire kept subject to a crown. Stir up all hates, all spirits, hope and fear, wrong and revenge are current everywhere.
Put down my son, for that must be the way. A father's shame, a prince's tyranny, the sceptre either shall misjudged be.
Let them fear rumour that do work amiss. Blood, torments, death, horrors of cruelty have time and place. Look through those skins of fear, which still persuade the better side to fear. And since thy son thus traitorously conspires, let him not prey on all thy race and thee. Keep ill example from posterity.
Danger is come, and must I now unarm and let in hope to weaken resolution? Passion, be thou my legacy and will. To thee I give my life, crown, reputation, my pomps to clouds, and as forlorn with men, my strength to women, hoping this alone, though feared, sought, and a king, to live unknown. Celica, all these to thee do thou bestow, this living darkness wherein I do go.
My soul now joys. Doing breathes horror out. Absence must be our first step. Let us fly. A pause in rage makes Alaham to doubt, which doubt may stir in people hope and fear, with love or hate to seek you everywhere. For princes' lives are fortune's misery, as dainty sparks which men dead do know, to kindle for himself each man doth blow. But hark, what's this? Malice doth never sleep. I hear the spies of power drawing near. Sir, follow me. Misfortune's worst is come. Her strength is change, and change yields better doom. Choice now is past. Hard by there is a pile built under colour of a sacrifice. If God do grant, it is a place to save. If God denies, it is a ready grave.
Act 4, Scene 2, exit the king. Celica remains. Enter the eldest son of the king and her brother, Zophi.
Where am I now? All things are silent here. What shall I do? Go on from place to place, not knowing where, not knowing what to trust or whom to fear. Yet shall I not fear that live to know rights, kingdoms, parents, all my overthrow? Are these specious hopes of princes as? Is right still subject to aspiring wit? Have they that stand by princes more despairs than they that do supplant anointed heirs? Is expectation nothing else in me, but woe's forerunner to make deep impression? By these surprises of adversity, are these the glorious triumphs of this day? Absent, in presence, banished, in recalling a throne, a tomb, a prince become a prey. Ah, cruel, false, ambitious thirst of state. Bloody like rage, be more revengeful still, because their ends do move, inflame their will. My rights and hope I give, and do forgive. Wrong take the world, let me enjoy myself. Scorned, blind, I cannot harm. Let me live, let power despise. My needless, guiltless blood, the strength of fear, the loss of all things, but of life can bear.
What see I here? More spectacles of woe? And are my kindred only made to be agents and patients in iniquity? Ah, forlorn wretch, ruin's example right, lost to thyself, not to thy enemy, whose hand, even while thou fliest, thou fall'st into, and with thy fall thy father dost undo. Some one I may, nature would save them both, but chance hath many wheels, rage many eyes. What shall I then abandon innocence? Not help a hapless brother thrown on me? Is nature narrow to adversity? No, no. Our God left duty for a law, pity at large, love in authority, despair in bonds, fear of itself in awe. That rage of time and power's strange liberty, oppressing good men, might resistance find. Nor can I to a brother be less kind. Dost thou that canst not see hope to escape? Disgrace can have no friend, contempt no guide. Right is thy guilt, thy judge iniquity, which desolation casts on them that see.
Make calm thy rage, pity a ghost distressed. My right, my liberty I freely give. Give him that never harmed thee leave to live.
Nay, God, the world, thy parents it deny. A brother's jealous heart, usurped might, grows friends with all the world, except thy right.
Secure thyself, exile me from this coast. My fault suspicion is, my judge is fear. Occasion with myself away I bear.
Fly unto God, for in humanity hope there is none. Reach me thy fearful hand, I am thy sister, neither fiend nor spy of tyrant's rage, but one that feels despair of thy estate, which thou dost only fear. Kneel down, embrace this holy mystery, a refuge to the world for rape and blood, and yet I fear not hallowed for the good.
Help, God, defend thine altar, since thy might in earth leaves innocence no other right.
Eternal God, that seest thyself in us, if vows be more than sacrifice of lust, raised from the smokes of hope and fear in us, protect this innocent. Calm Alaham's rage. By miracles faith goes from age to age. Affection trembles, reason is oppressed. Nature methinks doth her own entrails tear. In resolution, ominous is fear.
And exit, Zophi remains on stage, Celica, and enter Alaham.
Sirs, seek the city, examine, torture, rack, sanctuaries none let there be, make darkness known, pull down the roofs, dig, burn, put all to rack, and let the guiltless of the guilty groan. Change, shame, misfortune in their escaping lie, and in their finding our prosperity. Good fortune welcome, we have lost our care, and found our loss. Celica distract I see. The king is near, she is her father's eyes. Behold, the forlorn wretch, half of my fear, takes sanctuary at holy altar's feet. Let him apart, examine, force, and try. These bind the subject, not the monarchy. Celica, I wake, that God of whom you crave is death, and only gives men what they have.
Ah, cruel wretch, guilty of parents' blood, Might I, poor innocent, my father free, my murder yet were less impiety. But on, devour, fear only to be good. Let us not scape. Thy glory then doth rise, when thou at once thy house dost sacrifice.
Tell me where thy father is.
Oh, bloody scorn! Must he be killed again that give thee breath? Is duty nothing else in thee but death?
Leave off this mask. Deceit is never wise. Though he be blind, a king hath many eyes.
Oh, twofold scorn! God be revenged for me. Yet since my father is destroyed by thee, add still more scorn, its sorrow multiplies.
Passions are learned, not born within the heart. That method keep, order is quiet's art. Tell where he is, far look what love conceals, out of nature's labyrinth reveals.
This is reward which thou dost threat me. If terror thou wilt threaten, promise joys.
Smart, cools these boiling styles of vanity.
And if my father I no more shall see, help me unto the place where he remains, to hell below or to the sky above. The way is easy, where the guide is love.
Confess, where is he hid?
Rack not my woe. Thy glorious pride of this unglorious deed doth mischief ripe, and therefore falling show.
Bodies have place, and blindness must be led. Graves be the thrones of kings when they are dead.
He was unhappy cause that thou art now. Thou art, wicked, cause that he is not. And fear'st thou parricide can be forgot? Bear witness, thou almighty God on high, and you black powers inhabiting below, that for his life myself would yield to die.
Well, sirs, go seek the dark and secret caves, the holy temples, sanctified cells, all parts wherein a living corpse may dwell.
Seek him amongst the dead, you placed him there. Yet lose no pains, good souls, go not to hell, and but to heaven you may go everywhere. Guilty with you of his blood let me be, if any more I of my father know, than that he is where you would have him go.
Tear up the vaults, behold her agonies. Sorrow subtracts and multiplies the spirits. Care and desire do under anguish cease. Doubt curious is, affecting piety. Woe loves itself. Fear from itself would fly. Do not these trembling motions witness bear, that all these protestations be of fear?
If aught be quick in me, move it with scorn. Nothing can come amiss to thoughts forlorn.
Confess in time, revenge is merciless.
Reward and pain, fear and desire too are vain, in things impossible to do.
Tell yet where thou thy father last didst see.
Even where he by his loss of eyes hath won, that he no more shall see his monstrous son. First in perpetual night thou madest him go, his flesh the grave, his life the stage, where sense plays all the tragedies of pain and woe. And wouldst thou traitorously thyself exceed by seeking thus to make his ghost to bleed?
Bear her away, devise, add to the rack torments that both call death, and turn it back.
The flattering glass of power is others' pain. Perfect thy work, that heaven and hell may know. To worse I cannot, going from thee, go. Eternal life that ever lives above, if sense there be with thee of hate or love, revenge my king and father's overthrow. O Father, If that name reach up so high, and be more than a proper word of art to teach respects in our humanity, accept these pains whereof you feel no smart.
Act 4, Scene 4, re-enter the king. What sound is this of Celica's distress? Alaham, wrong not a seely sister's faith. 'Tis plague enough that she is innocent. My child, thy sister, born by thee and me, with shame and sin to have affinity. Break me, I am the prison of thy thought. Crowns dear enough with father's blood are bought.
Now feel thou shalt, thou ghost unnatural, those wounds which thou to my heart then didst give, when, in despite of God, this state, and me, thou didst from death mine elder brother free. The smart of kings' oppression doth not die. Time rusteth malice. Rust wounds cruelly.
Flatter thy wickedness, adorn thy rage, to wear a crown, tear up thy father's age. Kill not thy sister. It is lack of wit to do an ill that brings no good with it.
Go, lead them hence, prepare the funeral, hasten the sacrifice and pomp of woe. Where she did hide him, thither let them go.
God, who madest these laws which this wretch breaks, let parents' blood this curse upon him bring. He, who of a child breaks all respect, may in his children find the same neglect. And they exit, and we have a fourth chorus of people.
Like as strong winds do work upon the sea, stirring and tossing waves to war each other, so princes do with people's humours play, as if confusion were the sceptre's mother. But crowns take heed, when humble things mount high, the winds oft calm before the billows lie. When we are all wronged, had we all one mind, whom could you punish? What could you rescue? Again, as hope and fear distract mankind, no kings their strength our freedom were to seem, but fate doth to herself reserve both these, with each to punish other when it please. Grant that we be the stuff for princes' art, by and on it to build their thrones above us. Yet if kings be the head, we be the heart, and know we love no soul that doth not love us. Men's many passions judge the worst at length, and they that do so easily know their strength. With bruit and rumour, as with hope and fear, you lay us low or lift us from our earth. You try what nature, what our states can bear. By law you bind the liberties of birth, making the people bellows unto fame, which ushers beanie dooms with evil name. Kings govern people, overrack them not. Fleece us, but do not clip us to the quick. Think not with good and ill to write and blot. The good doth vanish where the ill doth stick. Hope not with trifles to grow popular. Wounds that are healed forever leave a scar. To offer people shows makes us too great. Princes, descend not, keep yourselves above. The sun draws not our brows up, but our sweat. Your safest rack to wind us up is love. To mask your vice in pomps is vainly done. Motes lie not hidden in beams of a sun. The stamp of sovereignty makes current home brass to buy or sell as well as gold. Yet mark, the people's standard is the warrant, what man ought not to do and what he should. Of words we are the grammar, and of deeds the harvest both is ours and eke the seeds. We are the glass of power and do reflect that image back, which it to us present. If princes flatter straight, we do neglect. If they be fine, we see, yet seem content. Nor can the throne, which monarchs do live in, shadow kings false or sanctify their sin. Make not the church to us an instrument of bondage, to yourselves of liberty. Obedience there confirms your government. Our sovereignties, God's subalterns you be. Else, while kings fashion God in humane light, men see and scorn what is not infinite. Make not the end of justice checker gain. It is the liberality of kings. Oppression and extortion ever reign, when laws look more on sceptres than on things. Make crooked that line which you measure by, and mar the fashion straight of monarchy. Why do you then profane your royal line, which we hold sacred and dare not approach? Their wounds and wrongs prove you are not divine, and we learn by example to encroach. Your father's loss of eyes foretells his end. By craft which lots down princes we ascend. How shall the people hope? How stay their fear, when old foundations daily are made new? Uncertain is a heavy load to bear. What is not constant, sure, was never true. Excess in one makes all indefinite. Where nothing is our own, there what delight? Kings then take heed. Men are the books of fate, wherein your vices deep engraven lie, to show our God the grief of every state. And though great bodies do not straightways die, yet know your errors have this proper doom, even in our mine, to prepare your tomb.
And thus Act 4. Thus ends Act 4. Yes. So once again, we have a scene that has a really strong theme and action stuff happening in it. We've got people fleeing from Alaham on the rampage. We've got the old king. He's lost. He's contemplating suicide. He's asking his daughter to wield the sword, and she sort of turks him round to say, "Look, let's just hide over there. Let's try that." And she sends the firstborn son after, and but she gets captured by Alaham, and her cries brings father out, and we can assume that they are going to a rather grisly death. So that's Again, it's got action as well as people doing that. And I actually there was a little tear in my eye as I was doing the king. And just generally, there's stuff going on here, and I'm thinking back to what we were struggling with yesterday. And the thing was, yesterday, and the last session rather, nothing really happened. A lot of people were talking about things, and but because there wasn't a situation for most of those first two acts to sort of play with, it was just an awful lot of talking. Whereas here, there are intentions, there are objectives, there are super objectives. There are things actors can do stuff with in certain styles of drama. That's nice. I like that. So again, I do feel a steady general improvement. It's still quite hard in places, but thoughts in the room, Rachael.
In something we've done, or maybe it's something else that I've read from, the Greek stuff, that there is a conversation between Clytemnestra and Antigone about, chucking her in a cave somewhere, whatever foul rank, like earth or something, I think that we did. And I feel like there's something, taken maybe from a Latin translation of Greek tragedy somewhere, that, he framed the scene between Alaham and his sister on, to give him just a framework to go by for this scene. Yeah, I mean, these last two scenes, like well, not these last two scenes, but like the last couple of scenes have been going, and have been more conversational, or have been more like human speech, two humans talking.
Yeah, there's something at stake, and that sort of gives it impetus and flow, which is nice to have. Tom.
I think the the characters are. I mean, Alaham is supercharged evil, and I think the enjoyment and the interest is just to see what you can invest in that ever increasing power, if you will, of the character. And I think all the characters are getting more well defined as we go on.
Mm. And they make the point. There is no value or gain in killing his sister. Actually, you can understand why he's going to kill the king. That makes sense. But to also kill the sister as well, which has no meaningful value into politically to do that. Alaham is just gone that far now. He's just taking out everyone who's ever been bad, said a bad thing about him, presumably. I think he's absorbed an awful lot of Greek tragedy or Latin versions of Greek tragedy or those things. I think we explicitly had Medea earlier, and there may be more subtle steals as well in all of this. So I'm with that. Okay, we've got one more act to go. I'm just going to say now, it's not going to get any more cheerful. So just bear that in mind. Act 5, Scene 1, we have Alaham alone.
Chance now congratulates. This is indeed a princely work in fashions nature knew, to sacrifice the living to the dead, and with revenge be to a kingdom led. My father, brother, sister, and my king, all slain for me. Obedience, duty, love. Your followers to such height when do you bring? Now Hala's present. This triumphant robe shows all estates, things real, humors, laws. Yea, wives themselves owe homage unto might. Justice in kings cannot be definite. Hala, who strove by strength of wit and passion to change, inform, deceive, or undermine me as a man, yet to a prince's place humbles her pride and strives to purchase grace. When I ordained this mask and first decreed a specious death for prince and parent too, I felt once tenderness, that evil weed, which some call duty, others nature's laws. Should I have lost a crown for such applause? No, each state peculiar wisdoms hath. The way of princes is to hide their minds, for else each slave will suddenly descry our inward passions, which they traffic by. Remissness did in me no sooner move, and only by a pause itself express, but straightway they divined remorse or love, and instantly drew arguments from both, as if distraction to resolve were loath, but like a sultan mixing power with art. And I made good my will, and only said, sirs, do your charge. This intermittent passion is but the print of natural affection. The seat of justice is above compassion, straight as a fury's breath had filled these bladders with cruel hearts their charge they undertook, and ever after made my will their book. Who govern men, if they will stay above, must see and scorn the downfall of self-love. Nay, mark again what glory order yields. where every spirit is fitted to his room. Did not distress these weak ghosts well become, at which fine blaze of chance and intercession did I relent? Or had I any sense, but in the glories of omnipotence? These scepter mysteries kings must observe, or not be kings. Are private virtues such? Want great estates no other strengths but those which make them for good words, good fortune lose? As dogs their kennels, these their graves did frame. 'Twas crafty power that gave such laws to fame. Away they went, rich in self-pity's smoke, no hope of praise, but by their form of death, nor of revenge, but in the people's breath. While I ascending Rome to look about, and in the strength of confidence and power, behold the unprosperities of doubt. But hark, what mournful harmony is this? And dull my triumphs are, what sounds are these? Change! Is thy nature both to grieve and please? Confused echoes, whither do you fly? Or whence proceed? From grudge or from applause? Except my will craves mankind any laws. Solemnity infers the work is ended, yet hear I noise that shows unquiet motion. As from their ashes some new work intended. Now shall we know? Behold, I see one come, whose looks bring woe and horror from that tomb.
Distract, confused are all my inward spirits. Grief would complain, yet dares not speak for fear. Horror the place of wonder disinherits. Caine's next of kin, so willingly to die for pomp and honour to his funeral, the flesh to covet that which flesh doth fly. This wonder went I to the pile to see, as costly glories of the vanity. Instead of these I saw the veils of power, practice and pomp, specious hypocrisies sent from her face, even while she did devour. I saw those glorious styles of government, God, laws, religion, wherein tyrants hide the wrongs they do and all the woes we hide. Wounded, profaned, destroyed, power is unwise that thinks in pomp to mask her tyrannies. Look where he stands, a monster grown within, still thirsty and yet full with parents' blood, both man and tyrant dearly understood.
Hath meek devotion finished her work? Tell what their manner was, and how they died, that to the dead would thus be crucified.
The fire, though merciless, yet sometimes just, hath done his part, devoured, but refined, performed thy will, and yet deceived thy trust.
Speak plain. What threatening mysteries be these?
Echoes they be of murmurs which possess the hearts of men against power's wickedness. The first which burnt, as Caine, his next of kin, in blood your brother and your prince of state, drew wonder from men's heart, brought horror in. This innocent, this soul too meek for sin, yet made for others to do harm withal, with his self-pity tears drew tears from us. His blood compassion had, his wrong stirred hate. Deceit is odious in king's estate. Repiningly he goes unto his end. Strange visions rise, strange furies haunt the flame. People cry out, echo repeats his name. These words he spake, even breathing out breath. Unhappy weakness, never innocent, if in a crown, yet but an instrument. People, observe, this fact may make you see excess hath ruined what itself did build. But the more oppressed, the more you yield. The next was he, whose age had reverence, his gestures something more than privateness, guided by one whose stately grace did move compassion, even in hearts that could not love. As soon as these approached near the flame, the wind, the steam, or furies raised their veils, and in their looks this image did appear, each unto other, life to neither dear. These words he spake: Behold, one that hath lost himself within, and so the world without, a king that brings authority in doubt. This is the fruit of power's misgovernment. People, my fall is just, yet strange your fate, that under worst will hope for better state. Grief roars aloud. Your sister yet remained, helping in death to him in whom she died. Then going to her own, as if she gained, these mild words spake with looks to heavens bent. O God, 'tis thou that sufferest here, not we. Wrong doth but like itself in working thus. At thy will, Lord, revenge thyself, not us. The fire straight upward bears the souls in breath. Visions of horror circle in the flame, with shapes and figures like to that of death, but lighter tongued and nimbler winged than fame. Some to the church, some to the people fly. A voice cries out, revenge and liberty. Princes, take heed, your glory is your care, and power's foundations strengths, not vices, are.
What change is this that now I feel within? Is it disease that works this fall of spirits? Or works this fall of spirits my disease? Things seem not as they did. Horror appears. What sin embodied, what strange sight is this? Doth sense bring back but what within me is? Or do I see those shapes which haunt the flame? What summons up remorse? Shall conscience rate kings' deeds to make them less than their estate? A silly ghost, is't you that swarm about? Wouldst thou, that art not now a father be? These body laws do with the life go out. What thoughts be these that do my entrails tear? You wandering spirits frame in me your hell. Feel my brother and my sister there. Where is my wife? There lacks no more but she. Let all my own together dwell with me.
Act 5, Scene 3, exit Nuntius. Alaham is joined by the entrance of Hala.
Wife, is that the name but the style of thy remorse? Must I go where thy silly parents be? Thou yet but feelest thyself, thou shalt feel me, a king, and in a throne built out of blood. The ashes of your own must give your power. Glutton, ambition, now thyself devour. Look in thy conscience that unflattering glass. See there the wounds of Caine, thy wrongs to me. Death triumphs now, and I do give it thee. Caine here begins to live, whilst thou dost feed upon the poison that thy wife devised. Thy debtor yet, but stay, I will exceed. Now war it thyself. A king with kings must war. We are too base for friends or enemies, for lust used, not for love. We women are. All pains of death myself in Caine did feel. And shall my rage aspire but to be just, what it but once belong in doing must?
Infernal womb, receive thy right. Of old this body was thine own, before I was. Obey my father, brother, sister, me. I gave their ghosts. They must give mine to thee. They call, I come. It was my sin alone that gloried many ways to tyrannize. For all the dooms of ill let me suffice.
My grief yet but Rome itself incense. Hala is more, rage multiplies with use. These do but mourn, I must revenge abase, even through thy sense will I send in thine own. This child that by thee lived shall be in thee die. In this will, Caine, and I possess thy throne.
O powerful God, why dost thou thunders spend by chance or without vengeance on the plants, since it is man, not trees, that doth offend? Sirs, tear the roof, perfect the work of power. I have no being, while she there doth sit, subject in sex, but king in rage of wit.
Woman, behold our sex I now improve. Malice were vain. If kings could make it subdued, this rage revives the dead, restores my love.
Is this Ormus, or is Ormus my hell, where only furies and not men do dwell? The poison works. I feel my spirits faint. I must beseech. My power is but complaint. Yet wit, thou knowest what every power can do. Be strength to me. Can mothers kill their own? Self-love will spare them. Why should I request? Words do inflame, but it Hala is, I must entreat. Her malice keeps no fashion, though she have all, that all is but one passion. If I entreat, doth sense show where to wound? I owe it mine. Doth that give malice power? Oh God, what shall I do, that both within and out authority have lost, unused to request, yet must and will, yet even in doing know? Impossible, adds but more scorn to woe. Hala, I do with nature beg for thine. Are me alone thy husband and thy king? Horror hath her degrees. There is excess in all revenge that may be done with less.
Beyond the rule of law, but not of love, this child was born. This not in love but law, before thy wrongs I have my passions free, and in revenge shall aught else limit me.
Innocent, thine own, too late for hate or fear. His death doth only execration bear.
In him thou art, or were traitors of affection, bear children, only but to Caine I must.
Disease or grief, I know not which, or both. Languish my powers, Hala, some respite give. Spare him a while, I have not long to live.
Hala, makes haste to multiply this wretch. I must have both this sense of judgment free. 'Tis honour, not disease, that harbours me. All to superior power, which from above behold this earth and earthly mischief's rod. Cast hence your eyes, these works are but for two, for him that suffers and for me that do. Hala, then on that Ahalam's may enrage thou first. New married now I am, remorse doth but for men in ambush lie.
And she mistakenly kills Caine's children, not Alaham's.
Earth, standst thou fast under this ugliness, and fall'st not down to that infernal deep which fears, perchance, worse than itself to keep? Eyes, close your lids, there is no more to do. Yet know you have seen that before you die, which no age will believe, one worse than I.
Ah, cursed morality, so soon put out. And I have lost the glory of revenge. If flame find greater, as she goes about, this blood that bloody throat should have devoured. Rage lacked in this, were in the place of scorn, since woes be dead in him as soon as born. Flesh is too brittle, mould of brave excess, yet these scapes give nourishment to fame, since love and rage this model may express.
And Hala finds her error.
But what is this? Wake I, or do I dream? If changed, with whom or into whom am I? Doth horror dazzle sense or multiply? What world is this? Where's Alaham? Where's my son? Caine, rise and tell what furies raised be. Dost thou remain alive, and art thou dead? Who did this deed? None answers. It was I, and am I thus misled to lose child, husband, fame, honour, revenge, my Caine, my harms and fury too, and cannot harm myself that those harms to me do? Must I forgive thee, Hala, that none else forgive? Scarce trembling doth my heart conceive this hateful deed. Do eyes behold this work, and neither weep nor bleed? Shall I complain of heaven where fools lay self-despair? Or hell shall I invoke, which ill hath everywhere? Shall I remain alive and turn my rage to woe? Shall I distinguish guilt where chances doth overthrow? Is Cain no more? Is it no more to love? Hath Hala's hate made many hearts to bleed, upon the minds of her love to feed? Fury, art thou so long in getting up above the mists of pure self-pity tears? Shall rage be still a prisoner under fears? Look, here is death. Returnest thou to me remorse? Here my beloved can sigh, recall him back. Here I am loath, can scorn become his rack? Myself yet live, must fury burn without? These were in me, my nature live in one. What's due to death, even rage that groweth to doubt? Can infant, here is empire, let us live, this work is mine. Hell thanks and envies me. And lo, her spirits before I come, I see discourse, sedition, rage. You furies all, possess again thy state where you began. The woman you, 'tis we deceive the man. Enter upon this large infernal womb, repay yourselves, this moulded make you all. Why did you slay, or why did you stay? Lead me the way I come. Flesh is too weak, it hath satisfied. Lust, interment here, and fury poor. Rage hath respects, desire, here weary be. Leave man this mean, let us live in excess, where power is more, although the joys be less. This child is none of mine, I had no part. Bear him I did with loathing, not desire. My womb perchance did yield, but not my heart. With Alham's, his father, he must dwell. I will go down and change this ghost with hell.
And exit. Okay, a few questions there. So, act of revenge. Gonna kill Alaham's legitimate offspring, keeping Caine's children back in reserve. I mean, so how does she mistakenly kill Caine's children? I mean, we've all done it. So you've left the house in a hurry. You've picked up the wrong child for sacrifice. It's so easily done. And the other, I mean, but the play then leaves Alaham fine because it wasn't his child anyway. So no, his child's fine. So he's okay. He's the riotous, murdering psychopath. He's okay. And Hala, who has done some dodgy stuff in the play, but who has been constantly vilified for being a lustful, evil woman. For no particular greater fault than anybody else, because everybody's sort of a bit evil, apart from possibly the king, who's just a bit useless. She just gets this. I mean, what? I just no. Oh God, no. Anyway, Rachael.
Was Muhammad killed off stage? Like, or did he leave too?
He's still in the cupboard, as far as I can tell. Because it was hidden away by what's his face and by Caine, and I don't think we ever hear anything about him after that. So yeah, I think he's just still hiding in the basement. It's a dangling thread. I don't think it's the most important dangling thread of this particular text. As we go sort of careering back to the sort of general text sort of underlying misogyny, which is just constantly sort of just tinkling along in the background there. It was getting better. And then I can understand it striving for effect. Killing children. Oh no, it was a mistake. But it didn't actually think through of it making any sense at all. I mean, there isn't even some lampshading to just say, "Oh, this is the reason she got confused." I mean, I got a letter through the other day saying I need to. My eye test is overdue. You can go in. It's fine. We've got COVID precautions now. But seriously. So yeah. Thoughts in the room? We're sort of Lynsey.
I mean, I really, really enjoyed some of that. I loved the Nuntius section. I thought was sort of, so there's some fantastic text in there, and I just thought, oh, this is really, this is really hotting up. This is good. Yeah, it just goes a bit. It goes a bit. The wheels came off slightly after that, I think. Somehow, but I put this in the chat, but I mean otherwise this sort of generic trope of being blinded by rage or blinded by being blinded or whatever, there's a lot of blind action going on, and how blind can you be to kill the wrong kids?
So yeah. I mean, you're right. Yes, the Nuntius bit. Alaham being told about the immolation of his family. He's ordered his family burnt to death, and he's told at great length by Nuntius about that. Actually, not great length for a Nuntius speech. That was actually positively sparse. Got to the point. Got out again. I respect that. But then I said, there's just literally no comeback on Alaham at all. He just gets away with it. He's fine. He's sitting there going, "You killed the wrong one." He's sitting there laughing. I mean, mind boggles. Okay. Rachel and I are the only ones who were here yesterday to sort of have an overview on this. So I'll go to Tom and then Lynsey for any additional final thoughts. Tom, do you have any final thoughts to close the session?
Only to reiterate what you both just said, that it was going along nicely and then ended like a damp squid.
Lynsey, do you have anything additional to throw in?
I'm sorry in a way that I wasn't here for the last session, because actually the bits that are interesting are sufficiently interesting, to kind of warrant another look. But I don't, from what I'm gathering, the previous session didn't contain anything as good as what we had tonight. So I just don't know. But it's really hard to form a view without having been there. The good bits are good, I think. Whether anything can be made of that, I don't know. So no other final thoughts really.
So just clarifying that, because I thought there is more to Alaham his ending here, because there's this whole thing about him being poisoned with a poison cloak thing. So I think he's supposed to be dying at the end and dead. It's not very clear. Didn't get that, even though I knew that was coming. I kind of missed it in all of that.
I mean, maybe there's some text missing at the end. It's kind of strange that Hala has the last word, isn't it?
I don't mind her having the last word. It'd be just nicer if she had nicer words.
Well, yeah.
But just it's really not clear that that's what's happening to Alaham there. I didn't get that at all. But maybe others did. Rachel.
I mean, when I was reading it, I got that. I got it when he said poisoned, and I just was like, okay, this is his death speech. And she gave him the Heracles poisoned cloak, sort of ending. So I think there's just a lot of the good bits. I feel like he was ooh, that's from some Greek tragedy. Even the blind king, I felt like that was Oedipus or something, from some inspiration of Oedipus. Yeah.
And of course the poison cloak thing is also Medea as well. So yeah, it's all coming from there. Okay, that's just me. I obviously just missed. Yes, you're absolutely right. The poison works. I feel my spirit's faint. Yes, he's dying. Yes, okay. That's just me being doing something else at the time. Because that gives a bit more room for maneuver here. Because you could just cut the killing the child, or just have killed the right one. Just that's sort of fine. I think that's where the problem with the play is that the first two acts don't get to the point quickly enough. So hack them down and just rework Hala entirely to the point where actually I hate to diminish a good female role, but it's not a good female role at all. It's not a good role. It just doesn't work. And so there is potentially something in here that could be brought out. I feel it's going to be a lot of work, but I just don't feel it's fit for purpose as it is, except as a curiosity. And I hate to be negative because I'm normally so positive about things. I can usually find, and neoclassical drama is my thing. I can usually champion these things to the hilt. I've really struggled, but I can see a thing coming out of this. Unless we go down the route of using it as an educational tool from history, in the same way we're talking about, do you actually take bits of this apart and comment on it and make that a thing? Because that might be an option as well. That actually you do a whole case study on Hala, because maybe that's what you do, and just deconstruct it. Rachel, do you actually have any final thoughts rather than correcting me for being wrong? Which I always love. It's good. It's good for my soul. It's what I need, frankly. Take me down a peg, people. That's what you're here for.
I feel like this guy and Schopenhauer would get along really well because he's got a lot of misogynistic things and feelings about women. So they would probably be mates, but I don't know. Like, my feelings towards this are very conflicted and semi like indifferent, because yesterday was so opaque and it was that Dada like poetry, like that Dadaist poetry that you talked about. And today it seemed to pick up, and there's, lines in the verse that I'm like, oh, that's really nice. And there's like these actual conversations, and there's, I was finding things and finding things in the text of, some of subtlety and different, changes and points that, playing with different things, and that there was some room for play in it. But it's just like so weird. And I think I know Mahomet, like I forget who he was or what he did, but he's like just completely disappeared. And I wonder if that's maybe a role that, like, if you wanted to shorten this down and try it as like a mini Turkish play that you did, like a quick one or something like that, like some, like the preview to a double feature or something like that, when doing Turkish plays. Because, like, I don't know, there's such, I don't understand the point of that one character. Like, because he came and he went and then he just disappears completely. And if he's died, his death isn't really do anything. I'm not sure. And
I'm not 100% certain why he was the plotting of his murder came about in the first place. I mean, it was sort of random as to I there is a reason. It's sort of in there, but it doesn't come across very clearly. And there's another thing. Yeah, I mean, there is a need for him. I mean, I think there is a very much a. It's about Caine, Basshas, and how that leads to his death. And the scene actually between them, Mahomet and Caine, is quite good. This is from yesterday's session. And in a sense, it sort of tips the author's hand a bit, because it's, we men are great together. See, let's ignore what the women have told us to do. And so again, it becomes this problematic. See, the scene that the author seems to actually really be into is not always good. So yeah,
maybe that could be the end. That after Hala has killed everybody and killed the children and dies on stage, just a cupboard door opens. I wasn't so good. Hello?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. Mohammed comes out and go, okay, 40, 90, 98, 99, 100, ready or not? And they're all dead. Because that's the thing. Everybody's dead. I don't think there's anyone left standing, apart from potentially Mohammed, but I suspect he's been dragged out and killed. I mean, not including sort of in passing high priests and things. And, nurses. Everybody's dead. Which I can live with. So, on that note, that's it for Alaham, probably for a little while. I don't think coming back for a second look in a hurry. It's but it's sometimes with these slightly more problematic texts, they work away in the back of my brain, and a cunning plan emerges and strange things occur. But we'll see. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. We are the Glass of Power.